Welcome to In the Slot, a panel show about the NHSL. I guess maybe we should call it but nothing but net, I think is what everyone's saying today, because we've got three goaltenders in the house today from left to right. We've got Glen Forbes White from the Stars, Matus Trnka from the Brewers, and Julian's brother from the Xtreme here. Happy birthday, Julian. Shout out to the one real Friederich. What's going on, boys?
Yeah, not much. Thanks for having us.
Best intro yet, I think.
Just for Jeremy or what?
100%.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, what's happening? What's up with Julian these days? That's all we're really here for, is we just want to know about Julian's brother's update on Julian.
Look, I don't know. I don't
Yeah,
really
okay,
talk to
I'm
him
done.
anyway.
Well, you know.
Who cares?
Boys, no, thanks for joining us. Before we get into things, let's jump in for those that missed it with the game recap from last week. You boys, feel free to jump in. You can help commentate what's going on. It was a pretty good start for the Xtreme. I think it was the 3 goals from all 3 lines in the first 7 minutes. Every single player on the ice was a +1 from the Xtreme to start the game after the first 7 minutes. Good start for the boys.
Absolutely. They came ready to play. It was good that all the lines got involved, because we've got a deep team and the boys are working hard. So, it was credit to them. Even Chenna getting a goal, like that happens once a season. So it was good to see him getting on the scoreboard.
Good feed from Nathaniel Benson, getting 3 assists on the night. He was looking pretty good. I think it was a 3-0 lead, and Johan Levesque, while shorthanded off the post, came down and boom, beat Jeremy Friederich for the goal to make it 3-1. But Jeremy, I think what kind of goes understated in here, it was a 3-0 game early on, so it was a bit of a lead that the Stars were chasing. But you're going to see you made some pretty good saves, dude, in this game to keep the team kind of a 3-1 game, keep it in check, and kind of keep that the most. This was a really nice one from Jeremy Friederich. Kept it a 3-1 game. Eventually, the team did make it a 4-1 game. We just wanted to have every highlight clip we're going to try to have one of Nathaniel Benson getting hit just for the record. So that's the second straight week in a row. That made it 5-2 at one point. Jake Riley scored from the same spot twice. Comments on that, by the way?
Look, I think he just needed a little bit of an ego boost. Obviously, you know what he's like. So I just figured I'd let him have it twice and then take it away from him for the rest of the season. This
was a nice goal after Xander Wardlaw got down. Nathaniel Benson, assist number 3, and Xander Wardlaw, he's got 2 points. He's 2 goals on the night, and he now leads the competition with 5 assists. Connor Smith added a goal late. 6-4 was the final. What was your overall thoughts in the dressing room after that game? What was the Xtreme's evaluation of it?
Look, we were really happy. We've come out really well both games. We let it get away from us a little bit in the end. I think just mentally we need to stay a little bit more focused, but that's going to come with the length of the season, and I think all in all the boys are happy and they're buzzing. So, we're going to take this break really well and go hard while we can, and then come back ready to go.
Glenn, walk me through it from your perspective.
Not the ideal start to coming back from injury, but sort of, I guess, take it with a grain of salt and just move on from there. 3 off of 4 was a little bit of a shock to the system, but just sort of have to put those sort of starts behind you and then just try and work on for the rest of the game and make sure that, if you do get those Jake Riley, a couple of goals, you're trying to keep your team as close to it as possible. So what was the difference between Glen Forbes White in the first 7 minutes of that game and I guess the rest of the 53 minutes of the game? The first 7 was definitely very shaky, a lot of nerves, just trying to feel everything out, like very different to practice. So just trying to sort of get over those nerves and relax into the play a little bit and stop chasing the puck and just let the puck find you was definitely, I think,
I'm always curious to think or hear about what a goalie's thought process is, because you're not isolated from the team, but you're isolated from the bench. You're not on the bench getting the pump up, whatever's going on. 3-0, the Xtreme make it, and then all of a sudden you go shorthanded right after that 3-0 goal. And then there was the 5-minute major that was taken. What were you thinking, or what was take us through the Glen Forbes White inner monologue when that was happening?
Pretty elated and thankful for Frenchie to get us back, or at least get us on the board. It's always nice to ruin Jeremy's shutouts, but then to take that major sort of adds a dampener on it. But you sort of come back down to earth pretty quickly and just go, right, I've got to get back to work. Can't have a goal scored and then make it worth nothing. So just basically sort of try and reset as quickly as possible and just get back to work.
Matus, did you watch the game?
Yeah.
Did you watch it with the? I know the Brewers were at Big Shed, weren't they? Were you there as well?
Yeah, we went there, everyone.
The whole team?
Yeah.
That's cool. Who organized that?
I think Steve best.
Captain Steve?
Yeah.
So how did you see the game on Friday night? What's your expert commentary from the two?
We were like most of the time just talking like between us, the boys, and we weren't really watching the game. We watched it at home. It was like good game, nice ace, nice goals.
Fun to watch.
Yeah,
fun time.
Yeah, a fight. I think fight. Yeah.
So everybody has now played one game against each other. We're 2 games each for everybody. I guess what's the reviews? How are things going for everybody so far? We'll start with you, Jeremy.
Individually or as a team?
Both, however you want to answer.
I think the boys are doing well. It's been a long lead up to it in terms of the amount of trainings that we've had compared to in the past for seasons. So we had a good amount of time, regardless of the length of weeks. I think we had a good amount of ice time to prep, and we were really happy with the systems and things like that we came out with. And just in general, it's a new vibe. It's really exciting, and everyone's enjoying it.
How about you, Matus?
Oh, good. Like we in Slovakia, we used to have like 4 or 5 trainings a week. So for me, this is not as much as I used to have, but it's still better than what we used to have in Prem or like with Falcons and Adrenaline.
Yeah. What about you, Glenn?
Really good sort of team vibe. Like sort of building off what Jeremy said, it's exciting to sort of train and be a part of a team where, half the players I haven't actually played with before or even talked to. So it's exciting from that point of view. And, we're just sort of trying to work on our special teams and just sort of basic systems to sort of get everyone clicking as quickly as possible and then hopefully build through the season and end up on top.
In terms of Australian ice hockey, just like you said, Matus, this is different. Maybe not different from back home, but this is different. Has there been anything in particular, just isolate one thing, I know there's probably a bunch, but can you isolate one thing that has been different that stands out in your mind? That you're like, okay, this is interesting.
The amount of support we've gotten from our sponsors, Peak Conditioning, the gym they've set up with, the recovery stuff they've got, this feels really good. Like, you feel like, and you're training around like the AFLW and things like that, you feel like a proper athlete. And they're taking you through so many great things down there. So we're really, really thankful for that.
So I've seen a few videos of that pop up online over at Peak. Like, take me through a recovery. Like, what are they doing with these recovery sessions?
So they've got their little recovery boots, the compression ones that you pop on.
I saw that. Everyone was sitting out like that.
They're amazing. Whoa. We had them a couple times at Worlds, and you sit there for like 3 hours on them, and you feel amazing when you get out. We had the contrast baths. They were lovely. The ice bath to heat bath. Shout out to Nathaniel Benson for almost hyperventilating in the ice bath. That was really good. Just kept the vibes up a little bit. So that was good to see. But there's that. We got a massage therapist down there. Like, they're really looking after us.
And Matus, what about you? From the difference between maybe Falcons or Premier or Adrenaline, what's been that one thing that's been noticeable for you in terms of difference?
Oh, probably the way the trainings are structured and and the skill of the players. Because, for example, in Falcons, you don't have that many skilled players as in this league. Yeah.
So the skill level is just a step higher, just as we kind of expected, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Glenn?
I think, honestly, seeing everyone buy in from the get-go, everyone's showing up to the off-ice. Everyone's showing up, early to warm up and get ready and sort of mentally prep for both the games and training. So I think it's just a nice sort of change of pace to actually have the entirety of the team buy in from, guys that might not get that much ice time all the way up to sort of first liners, coaches, everything.
Well, let's take a look at the scoring leaders of the competition so far. This is how things are shaping up. Everybody in Australia loves the points. Xander Wardlaw, 5 points. Jake Riley, 4 goals. That's, you got 2 late ones. Jan Kubik with 3 assists, working his way up there. And Reggie still in the top 10, hanging on with his couple of goals. Any names on that list that you're like, oh, wow, good for them up there?
Yeah, Reggie.
Yeah, definitely Reggie.
See, I'd go off Reggie, and I'd say Noah Maley. I think Reggie's probably got way more goals than Noah has in his career, and for Noah to have picked up 2 in that first game was unbelievable, because that kid, as much as he works hard, cannot put a puck in the net to save his life. So it was good that he got 2 in that first one.
Are you surprised that Xander's got 5?
Yeah, look, I think I was surprised that he's doing anything at all, really. But I knew the talent that he had, and he's working really well with Nathaniel, and they're getting along well. So it was only bound to happen. Just a better Jake Riley, really.
3 rounds in, here's the standings and how things are shaping up. The Xtreme, everybody's got a point, which is good. The Xtreme, though, with 4 points from their 2 wins. Brewers and the Stars, they play a big game on Friday night because the winner of that is going to have a shot at the Xtreme for a chance to go back to first place. So things tighten up. So that's a big one for the Stars and the Brewers, and it was a classic in game number 1. And you're all caught up, everybody watching at home, what's going on in the NHSL. We're here with all of the goalies. But Glen Forbes White, we saw make a return on the weekend. You had an injury in Prem, which was not that fun to watch. We'll pop that up on the video in just a second. But can you walk us through what you were walk us through what you're feeling in these moments, I guess?
Sort of wasn't too bad at the start, and then as everyone sort of collapsed on top of me and just pinned my legs and I couldn't move, just sort of felt my right knee go, and it wasn't a lot of fun, when you're in a pile like that. Like, you can see Benny there trying to get up and get off of me. It's not easy to do, and he felt pretty bad for not being able to get off me any quicker, but it wasn't a lot of fun to have it happen. But I've looked at that again and I've spoken to a lot of people, and I probably wouldn't have played that any different. So it's just one of those unfortunate things that comes with playing a high intensity contact sport like ice hockey.
So what did the training session look like? I guess, so take me through. Doctors, they evaluated as what, and then what did they tell you to do?
Yeah, so I have been seeing Lewis at Adelaide.
I remember
Advance.
Lewis.
Yeah,
What a
Adelaide
beauty.
Advance. So he's been my go-to for quite some time now. So I went and saw him, got sent off for scans, and basically I'd taken a chunk out of the cartilage on my femur. So that was the major one, and then just a bit of swelling and bruising. But from there, just knee brace for quite a few weeks, and then trying to build on the physio and actually just trying to rehab it enough that I can get back on the ice for the start of the season. Obviously not quite quick enough to get to game 1, but still quite thankful that I'm ready to go and here for game 2 and onwards.
Have you boys had an injury like that before? Knee injury or cartilage injury, anything?
No, touch wood, I've been really lucky so far.
I just had high ankle sprain.
So it's just Glenn that's guiding us through this all.
Yeah, he's the old one now, so
Yeah,
It's true.
we're just going
Ancient.
through the same steps, but later.
yeah.
So how did it feel when you first got back on the ice after couple months away from standing foot on the rink?
Extremely rusty.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
What do you mean
Yeah.
rusty? Like what's not as sharp as it normally would be?
Like sort of feeling a couple of seconds behind every play, not being able to track the puck properly, just sort of feeling out of place. I'm sure both of these guys can relate to when you're feeling a couple of seconds behind the play. It's just not a great feeling, and trying to sort of work on your game and overcome that feeling at the same time as, making sure I don't, re-injure myself by doing something dumb on the ice. It was definitely a struggle to start.
You did settle back into the game, but what did you feel? Was it in the back of your mind, the knee injury at all?
Not so much. I did tweak it sort of during the second period slightly, but I sort of had enough faith from my work with Lewis and how I've been feeling in the last couple of trainings that it wasn't really going to be a problem. But sort of like I said before, it's hard going from a training pace to a game pace. You have a lot more control over the motions in a training compared to a game.
So I'm curious to hear everybody's story here, so I'll just ask it across the board. But we'll start with you, Glenn, because Matus is from Slovakia. You've got family. Your family origins are Swiss. So there are some snowy ice hockey-ish places where I think the story about how they got involved in ice hockey will be a lot simpler than yours. So how does an Australian decide to play ice hockey, 1, and 2, be like, I want to be the guy that faces all of these pucks that people are pelting at me?
So originally, my family's from England, and when we moved over here, my dad had played ice hockey for quite some time, but had sort of stopped before we moved over, and he actually started working with Reggie, and Reggie introduced him to inline hockey and got him out playing. So then I sort of followed along, but started as a player, not as a goalie. And we had an inline tournament here for nationals, and I think the Tasmanian goalie or something had gotten injured, and they were like, "Oh, who wants to fill in? Who wants to go for it?" And I was like, "Oh, I'll do it if I'm allowed." So I basically filled in for the goalie position, and then was like, "Oh, I actually kind of enjoy this more than player," and then played inline as a goalie for a number of years and then wanted to sort of travel and go overseas or do something a little bit more, and realised I couldn't do that with inline, so then started sort of transitioning and playing ice.
So how old were you when you started playing ice?
Oh, I reckon I would have been 17 or 18.
And how old are you now?
24.
24. So you've only been playing goalie for 7-8 years.
Yeah, not too long. But once you get over the sort of skating side of things, there's a lot to bring across from inline to ice. So it's sort of, yeah.
What about you, Matus? How did you start playing hockey, and why goalie?
Yeah, so basically, my parents always led me to sports since I was a kid, and then during one ice skating session, I met a friend, and he already played ice hockey, and he told me about it, and I told my parents I want to try it out, and yeah, I just kind of get involved in ice hockey, and I fell in love with the sport, and yeah, so that was when I was about 4.5, 5 years old.
Yeah.
I started playing hockey, and then when I was about 10 years old, I became a goalie. And my parents and coach didn't want me to be goalie because of my good skating abilities.
Naturally.
Makes sense.
But,
Makes sense.
Of course.
But I just wanted to be on the ice the whole time, and didn't want to change like the other players do. And yeah, and I wanted to have all of my teeth.
Yeah, it's a good point. All of your teeth in a 60-minute shift.
Yeah.
That works pretty good. That's a good. What about you, Jeremy? That's next level, Matus. I like it.
Yeah, I was born in Switzerland and basically born with skates on. I think there's videos of me holding myself up with those chairs and pushing myself along. And obviously, being the person I am, I think we were made to do 6 laps back and forth. So I'd do one and then turn the chair around, sit on it, and yell at people, getting them to skate faster, because that's the kind of thing that I'd love to do. And then so we came here. I did a couple stints of because our team was rotating goalies. So back home, I didn't really have a specific position, and then came here, played a tournament as a player in 2009, and then 2010 came around and they didn't have any goalies. So Seb Woodlands and I put our hands up and never looked back.
I love it. Matus, when did you became a goalie when you were 10 years old? When did you realize that you didn't just like being on the ice the whole time, but maybe I'm good at this goaltending thing?
Oh, it was probably 2-3 years ago.
Just 2-3 years ago, really?
Yeah, because before then I was just
When he
playing
came
goalie
and played with us.
Yeah,
Comes over and then works out that he's
when
good.
I was 15.
When he came to Australia. It's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, now when I was 15, I got invited to national camp, national ice hockey camp, and that was
And so, I guess that's a pretty good sign if they're saying come there. So when did you come over to Australia, Matus?
Oh, it was 2019 August.
2019 August. So I'm talking about that right before COVID, 6 months before that, whatever it was. And then how was your English when you first got here?
Oh, it was pretty bad.
You can hear it now.
Yeah.
It's just amazing.
It's good. It's amazing now.
Yeah, I just had the vocabulary. I just couldn't really understand people and talk. I just knew the words. I just didn't know how to structure the sentence really well, and I just tried to say yeah to everything, and hopefully it was the right answer.
I took him out. What was it? Probably first time I met him, and it might have been the 3rd or 4th person he'd met in Australia when he came over, and we took him out to Zambreros in the city, and it was very much yep, nope, yep, nope, and I was okay.
So how did you learn? How was the thing that helped you learn the most?
Oh, probably going on a trips with the boys with generals.
Yeah.
Because I was just forced to talk English, and I listened to it the whole day. So yeah, I listened to Jeremy talking. Also.
So you learned English mainly from this guy over here.
Kind of.
I feel that you could have picked a bet. Yeah, poor guy. Yeah,
Poor guy.
It is interesting, I guess, because you would have to be so good at observation now, just by trying to pay attention to little grammatical things that people are doing to adapt to that.
Yeah.
I guess that makes a lot of sense. So goaltending wise here, so you've just now playing 2 full Premier League seasons. That's it.
Yeah.
Here, right? Okay, and then you got drafted here. Were you surprised when you went number 2 overall?
Yeah, I was really surprised because I've talked to Sammy before the draft. He said if he would draft me, he would probably draft me in 4th, 5th round. So I was expecting to go a bit later, but then Bill said Falcons, so I was I think I'm gonna go now.
Yeah, perfect. I like it. So Bill gets you up there, number 2 overall.
Yeah.
So Jeremy Marquis, so goalies were starting to go off the board pretty quickly from that point. So how has your experience come with this? What are you telling your friends in Slovakia back home about the league?
I'm just telling them it's fun, fast hockey with fighting. What else do you need? You know?
What else do you do? Do people watch the games at all?
I send my friends links, and they watch if they have time.
It's a weird time zone too.
Yeah,
that's really interesting. So you though have faced a lot of shots over the last year. I think with the Falcons it was like 40 shots a game, and this year already you faced like 44 shots on average in the first 2 games. Do you like being busy, or do you sometimes wish maybe a few less guys?
Yeah, definitely I like it because you get less time to think about stuff like what did you do wrong and stuff like that. So it's definitely better if goalie is busy because you don't have that much time to think about other stuff and you're just in the zone.
Is that across the board, everybody? Do you like being more?
Yeah, I'd rather face a lot of shots than sort of be quiet all night. Sort of same thing. You stay in the game. You're not sort of wandering, I guess, and there's also way more opportunity to learn. Like, you're not going to get any better if you're facing 10 shots a game. 40, 50 shots is probably on the high end, but it's still gives you that sort of opportunity to grow.
So when I'm calling the games, and let's use that second period of the Xtreme versus the Brewers in that game 2 weeks ago as an example, where Matus, you faced 19 shots in the second period, and you faced 5, Jeremy. It was only a 1-0 period that the Xtreme won, but on paper, on ice, on the stats, the Xtreme, heavy traffic going one way. When I'm calling the game, who should I be more worried about in letting in a goal that normally you would stop in that situation?
I think when you're looking at Matus play, you probably have that expectation that he's saving everything anyway. So regardless of the shot count, you'd probably be more worried for me laying in a weird one. But yeah, look, it's hard. Sometimes it doesn't show up on the shot board, but you're still getting action. So, when the teams are still coming in, you still have to focus. And the hardest is when the team's on the power play the whole time, which I didn't play that first game, so I wasn't really, that bad, where a team would be on the power play for like 7 minutes and then another team would be on the power. Like, that would be so much worse. At least like the Brewers would break out, they'd come in and, we just keep them to the outside and stop them getting shots. But yeah, probably the goalie that's facing less because it's just so hard sometimes.
Keep the concentration.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, 100%.
Now, I know that when you talk to scorers, sometimes they remember like this sick goal that they scored in that moment, celebration, whatever it is. It's a lot easier though for scorers to have those moments because, if you're only scoring 20 times over a 40-game season or whatever, and there's an overtime winner, like of course Ben Handberg's going to say he remembers the OT winner, right? Do goalies have the same thing with saves? Like, are there saves that are etched in your brain? It's just like, I remember it so clearly?
Yeah, 100%.
Walk me through an epic save. Doesn't matter what level or league, just walk me through an epic save that you're like, yep, it's in my brain.
Oh, the easiest one for me would have to be the one on Friday against Joey. Just like the most recent, and usually the ones that feel the best as a goalie are the ones that you sort of go, I don't know if I had any business saving that, and I'm sure these two will agree, the ones that you shouldn't save necessarily but you do are the ones that stick out.
Matus, anything that sticks out for you?
Every save's a highlight.
Yeah, I feel like you just kick it left, right, and
No, not really. Like, I haven't had any big saves yet, so...
No big saves yet. Oh, come on.
No worries.
What about you, Jeremy?
It's hard. I'm raking my brain a bit. I think there was one in Perth, which wasn't really a save that should have been made, but a guy rimmed it around the boards and it's hit the perplex on the benches. So I've skated out to behind the net to stop the pass and it's hit the benches and it's coming towards the net. So I had to like dive back, stick my stick in front of the net, make a save that I probably had no business being out of my net. But that probably is one that had the heart racing more than any other.
So, Jeremy, you've had an interesting goaltending journey, obviously. I remember were you at 15 years old when Paul Bissonnette was standing on the bench with you at the Adrenaline preseason game? Got a couple Adrenaline games, played Generals, but you've kind of had, unfortunately, probably some good junior national opportunities wiped out from COVID, which just sucks. But walk me through your goaltending journey so far.
Yeah, well, look, there wasn't much competition growing up. I think it was almost fortunate that we were in a situation where it was basically just Seb and myself for a while, where he would be 2 years above, so I was always playing in those tournaments. And that definitely helped getting exposure. I remember talking to Steve Lafayette, my first national team coach, and he said he really just looked at the goalies from SA and ACT because we were facing 40, 50 shots a game, whereas the guys in interstate in New South would be facing like 10 shots. So it was hard for them to really develop. And then probably credit to it because you get guys like Seb that made the national team, guys like Glen that if he had started earlier would have been on there. I mean, Matus was developed in Slovakia, but still no business being out of a national team. So yeah, I think it started with that and never really stopped. I kept getting the exposure. The first national team I got to go on was really lucky. I went to Estonia when we got promoted a couple divs higher than we probably should have been. And then from there, played in Bulgaria and Serbia and it's just been a bunch of hockey.
So what's the appeal of being a goalie?
Look, Mum will always say that I just want to be the centre of attention, and she's definitely not wrong by any means. But yeah, I guess it was the same in soccer. If I wasn't the guy scoring goals, because I played soccer growing up, I had to be the one saving them. It's just the part of contributing to the team, and it's almost like the quarterback in the NFL. Like, you got to be the guy that, like, I love calling the plays and knowing what's going on and things like that. So yeah, it was just finding a place for me to best put my talking skills to use.
Besides being on the ice for an entire 60 minutes, what's the appeal of being a goalie?
I don't really know.
Lovely.
You like being the guy that stops the puck making the big save?
Yeah, obviously.
You'd be crazy if you said no to that. You're like, no, I'm so uncomfortable sitting back there making, like, you have to be at least.
Yeah.
Probably good enough for me. What about you, Glenn?
Yeah, I guess basically the same, like getting to play the whole game and being that guy that can sort of control the pace and, like, you know, in the high tempo games, make or break a game. You know, obviously it sucks if you're the guy that has a shitty game and breaks it, but you know, if you can make a game and sort of push your team to a win, you know, there's no better feeling really.
Coaching influences. Who's been your big, like, goaltending coaching influence so far in your career?
I've had a few. Glassy was actually probably the first, like, goalie coach I had, and then sort of Sam O'Neill, Pete King. Yeah, probably those three I think were the main ones for me coming through from inline to ice.
What about you, Matus? I'm sure we've never heard of this person before, but let's give him a shout out.
Yeah, like I was like pretty lucky to have really good like goalie coaches back in Slovakia. So I had like a guy, Jan Lašák, who won a championship in 2002. That's the guy who noticed me on like the national camp, and then he like invited me to like national goalie camps, which were like there was one goalie camp each month. Yeah, I developed there a lot. I gained like a lot of knowledge about goaltending there. Then one of my first goalie coaches, he was a member of Olympic national team for Czechoslovakia, and then for Winter Olympics for Slovakia. And then I had also one goalie coach who played against Marc-Andre Fleury in like I think it was under 18 or under 20 World Cup. Yeah, it's just very good.
Yeah. What about you, Jeremy?
Well, definitely didn't have the biggest influence on me, but I think the most memorable one was I was lucky enough to share the ice with David Ebicher, who's the first ever Swiss NHL goalie that played for the Canadians, I think, back in the day when I went back over there. So I was fortunate. I got to do a bunch of camps over there. Guys like Messina in the States with the Bandits goaltending and stuff. I got to do camps with them as well. But I mean, here with the national team, it was Johan Steenberg. He was my first coach out from Melbourne, and he was great. Obviously, Neil Boyle has put in so much effort for the goalies. Same with Ian Hunter. Those two have been a staple for goaltender development in the state, and you know, they deserve so much credit for the amount of time and effort they put into us and our development. And other than that, I guess Sam O'Neill was the first one, so he gets the biggest shout out because he started Seb Woodlands and I's goalie careers.
Are you, what was I can't even remember what I was going to ask. This never happens. No, on terms of goaltending influences, what about goaltenders that you watch in the NHL that you're like, yeah, I just like idolize, maybe the wrong word, but you just can't get enough of watching them play?
Originally, because I'm a Canucks fan, it was Roberto Luongo. I used to love watching Luongo play. Nowadays, I mean, Vasilevsky, and I'm sure Matus will go on about Vasilevsky.
Is that your boy?
Well, he calls himself Vasilevsky. So, otherwise, Demko, as a Canucks fan as well, he's been great to watch. But yeah, I mean, there's so many good goalies, and I just kind of pick different styles. And I think Glenn will probably say Tokarski. I think that's his biggest idol after that video went wild of his goalie gear turning on the side. But yeah, no, other than that, I mean, it's just, they're all unreal.
Is Vasilevsky your boy?
Yeah, definitely. Like, his saves and his mobility is just crazy, and his calmness in the net is just something else. And also from Chicago Blackhawks, Marc-Andre Fleury, because I just noticed lately, like, he likes to play puck a lot like me.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Assist king.
Yeah,
3 assists in Prem. Already won here. Let's go.
For me, like, I'm a big Habs fan, so it's always going to be Carey Price as the main one. But it's also been really exciting over the last couple of years seeing guys like Carter Hart in Philly and Spencer Knight in Florida sort of like emerge from their junior careers into the NHL. So they're, I think, a lot of fun to watch, as well as like the new era of starting goalies coming through.
One thing I cannot wait for is the Olympics. That's coming around the corner. I feel like we got a nice little international audience here. Obviously, I would like Canada to win. I'm assuming that you'd like Switzerland to make a little bit of a run. I'm going to go on a limb and say you'd hope Slovakia can do a little bit of damage.
Sure.
And Glenn, who the heck are you going for?
I mean, I'll make you happy and just say Canada.
Perfect. Great. He couldn't say anything else. Why? So are you like a fan of Slovakian hockey as well? Like, do you watch when you were back in Slovakia or follow along the Slovakian the top league there?
Yeah. I used to when I was back there. Now I don't really have time for it. And also, they play when I'm already asleep.
Yeah.
So,
So who's your team?
My team, I don't know.
Who'd you grow up going to games of?
Košice is like the city where I was born. So yeah, that one.
Any players from there go to the NHL?
From my city.
Yeah.
Yeah, Eric Černák for Tampa Bay Lightnings. Yeah, him. Yeah,
Who's the big hockey celebrity in Slovakia? Chara?
Yeah, probably. I would say Chara, or I mean it's Chara, but yeah.
Sorry, mispronounced it.
Probably him. Yeah.
Sorry?
Yeah, probably Chara. Yeah.
Chara, I don't know. We're just saying it like all the other English speakers. Because that's interesting. Like when I've gone to the Czech Republic before, like guys like Dominik Hasek, he's a king, even though he hasn't been playing for ages. And it's the same with obviously Jágr. So is there any like folklore idols that like people talk about even though they haven't played for a long time?
I think Marian Hossa.
Hossa.
Yeah. And Gaborik maybe as well.
Hossa was huge because he came out, he played against in the championship, the junior team that I followed and then later worked for in the Memorial Cup final. And he put in like one of the most legendary performances like ever. Like he almost broke his leg in the game. They removed him for the third period. He came back in the middle of overtime and then he scored the winner. Like this dude was just like literally the stuff of legends.
He is unreal, hey.
Yeah.
I used him in NHL against Nathaniel the other day as a 7 overall player, and I scored like 2 goals in him. So he's a beauty.
Oh, it's Nathaniel.
Yeah, exactly. It is Nathaniel.
And one last question here: when you're watching a hockey game between all of you, when you're watching an NHL game, what do you get drawn to the most? Like, what are you watching the most of? Is it the goaltending play?
Yeah, I think you have to definitely pay more attention than others would. Sometimes, especially just watching replays, when you analyze the way a goalie reads the play, the way they kind of square up to it. But in general, I'm always very analytical. I like my management games as well. So I'm a football manager and hockey manager. So I watch just the systems and all that stuff. Like I just enjoy that essence of sport.
What's the thing that you're watching the most in a game?
Yeah, I just watch how the goalie moves in the net and just want to look as much as them.
Yeah.
Yeah, same as Jeremy. The sort of like analytical side of it and watching the replays or how they get scored on or how they put themselves into positions to make saves and sort of go like, you know, what would I have done different? You know, obviously being, you know, quite a few levels down in caliber, but how would I have taken that compared to how they've taken it? And it's kind of like, you know, watch a few things, see a few things, and then, you know, can actually implement those in the training if you're competent enough to do what they do. But
yeah. Well, fellas, we're about to wrap up here. We got a big game Friday night. You two going head to head in the crease. I'm sure that's going to be a lot of fun. We'll get your assessment first from Jeremy. What's your assessment of the 2 game coming up?
No, it was a really good game last time. I think both teams have definitely improved from that game. When we played both of them, it was almost a completely different team. You know, you get that first game in and you get to reanalyze the things that went right and wrong. You're definitely not going to see the same game with all those penalty troubles and things like that. I think they're a lot more disciplined now. But honestly, it's just the same as game one. I have no idea what to expect.
Boys fired up for it?
Of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
Training's been good, or what's been going on?
Yeah, training's been great. Everyone's really excited to sort of get out there and keep playing. You know, no one, like, people look forward to playing more than watching. So,
Well, boys, I appreciate you joining me. Glen Forbes White, Matus, Trnka, Jeremy Friederich, Julian's brother. Next game, Friday night. You can catch us on the stream. You can catch us on SBS On Demand. The Brewers and the Stars go head-to-head. Thank you very much to everybody for tuning in. We'll see you then.